Hillbilly Harrison League. Punt Billy, kick Billy, pass Billy, hit Billy, Hillbilly Harrison League. Hillbilly Harrison League podcast.
Hey, welcome to the podcast and merry playoffs, Dave.
I made it.
You made it.
It was iffy, but I played junior, which the infamous I had to beat off all weekend, and I did. I did that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then congratulations on having the forethought to set the schedule that way too. So that was good.
Yeah, we're back to that. Yeah. It was a tricky algorithm at the beginning of the year, but I figured out who was going to win what weeks, and I knew if I could just play junior the last week.
Yeah.
Convince him to change his team name to beat off all weekend.
Hey, and I do appreciate you keeping it close with him, though. You don't want to just blow him out the last week. It would have seemed like it was rigged or something. You kept it close there.
There was a tease there where he had a chance.
So, well, we'll jump into all the action from last week, but kind of before we do that, we'll give out some awards. I don't know. I haven't talked to you about who your award is. I told you off air. I'm going Hillbilly of the Week. I'm going with Brian, and couple reasons. One is just, I mean, it's heartbreaking for him. Win and you're in, but he didn't show up this week. Another bad performance, 64 points, and then so obviously he's paying attention. Like we don't know all the time if Ed's paying attention. We don't know all the time if Danny's paying attention. Junior says he's paying attention. For as much as he's in chat, you would think he'd pay more attention to his team. So it's like we got all those things going on. But Brian jumped on. I mean, first thing Monday or Tuesday morning, he was like, "Oh man, I missed the playoffs," and he was like, and he blamed it on that week 1 loss, the point change with Travis, and it's he got called out for it or whatever. And I think we were just talking like, man, he had a 27-point week, and there was a point in time in the season where he rattled off like 3 straight losses, but he was scoring a ton of points. They were bad beats, and we were like, man, Brian's got so many points. If he could just get some wins, he's going to jump up in front of people. And he ended up doing that for a while, but then he just hit this stretch of really bad weeks, and it ended up being points that cost him the playoffs.
Yeah. Down to him and Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a win, any win would have helped. So yes, that week 1 win, that's a bad beat. But if he doesn't have a 27-point week, if he just has a 60-point week, he probably is in the playoffs. So
I was going to look. What is it? 3 of us that ended up 7-7. And so the only one that didn't make it was Brian.
Because of the lowest points. Yeah, he had the lowest out of the 3 of you. Yeah. So that's rough. And
and that gets back to the who you play, what week it's like one of those things. It's just part of it, because I don't know if you look at what I wrote for this week so far, but it kind of stuck out that Danny, he got a lot of he scored 80. Not that 80's horrible, but in our league this year, we had a lot of high scores. He got a couple 80s and he got a bunch of wins under 100. Yeah. Those are gifts, right? Yeah.
And I haven't gone through and combed through it. I feel like I remember, so if we're talking about those teams that were right there on the edge, I feel like I remember Brennan getting a couple maybe a 70s win in there, or like and so like, it is. It's like,
But I think Danny benefited, because if you look, he's way, like, of all the playoff teams, he's got by far the least points. Yeah. But he's scraped by and got,
Well, he had a win above every, the guys.
One more. If any of those would have flip flopped, and it didn't go to Brian or Brennan, and it was just to somebody else, Brian or Brennan would be in instead of him by far.
Yep. But he had an extra win, so he had. And it was him versus Brian, and one of those teams was going to lose, and 64-96, Danny showed up when he had to.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have put money on Brian last week, but Danny got the better quarterback score. Najee, came through for him, and then McPherson, even though he missed a field goal, he ended up hitting enough to give him a decent score. So and he didn't really have any just like horrible scores where Brian gets a 0 from Arizona's defense and he gets 1 from Gano. Like all that ended up playing a part in just what ended up being a bad season for Brian.
Yeah.
So Brian, congratulations. You are the Hillbilly of the Week, and you get to join me and Ed and Junior in the Not So playoffs.
So for the Miller Time Team of the Week, I'm going to go with the obvious. I don't always do that, but the High Point winner, Josh, like what a 150 spot week, the last week of the season when you need it the most. And, ended up not being close because Lee had a way down week compared to what he'd been doing. But you didn't know that going in. You put your best team out there, and you're playing a team that is a win away from, like, all he needed to do was win, and he gets he would first place.
Yeah,
but he did.
So you're kind of playing the antagonist angle there, and I see what you're doing. Like he stopped Lee from getting the championship, and he gets the high points in it. Yeah. But when I looked at for Josh, the win really didn't matter other than he blocked Lee from getting it. Are you biased against? Are you biased against Adam? I mean, the guy wins the league on a last second.
That's true.
Score.
I figured that's its own reward. You don't need a time award.
He doesn't need a Miller Time. He gets the league championship.
Yeah,
but it did in dramatic fashion.
It is true, and we'll get to that. But the other thing that stuck out about Josh is he had a 0 from McLaurin, and he still scored 150, and he had 0 points on his bench. Now, he had a lot of buys, and he had a couple injuries, but, like, talk about going all in on your starters. Like, he had no decisions to make. It's like, this is all I got, and it was the best of everybody. He had 0 points on his bench. That's
and what were, I don't know, is there a quick way for me to I was looking at Josh. I feel like he had some down weeks, so to bounce back with like a 50 spot, a 150 spot is pretty good.
Yeah. Easiest way is to just look up his team and then go to full schedule.
Yeah.
And then you can see the whole line right there.
But he had kind of struggled there down the stretch a little bit, hadn't he?
I think so. But 150 cures a lot of.
No, it does. Yeah.
Cures a lot of ills.
Well, I just remember when we had the side bet week, everybody was betting heavily on Josh to win, and then Josh for the high points, and it was just a total letdown.
Was that week 12? I don't know. He got a 72 week 12.
Yeah, that could have been it. Yeah. But
he kind of has been all over the place. Like that 150 the week before 97, which is, pretty strong. And then a 72, 137. And then he had a whole string of below 90s.
Yeah.
It's like he's had, and then way up there, he had another 150. So it's like he's been high and low. So who knows what he's going to do going to the playoffs. But, I know we've given him a hard time because did you remember that he didn't come to the draft?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I totally forgot that Josh didn't come to our draft. Who drafted his team? So we should really. Brennan, congratulations on Josh getting the Miller Time Team of the Week. That was a great draft.
Except, and I pointed out in the write-up that a lot of his success came from who he picked up. He picked up Kittle, picked up a kick. Ended up being the number one kicker, and he had him for a long time. And the Cowboys he picked up early, and they've been pretty money. So those 3 spots.
Was number one when I picked him up, and then he ended up not being number one.
Well, he was for somebody else. He was. He finished one. But yeah, those 3 had nothing to do with the draft. They were all Josh. So he gets a little credit for his team.
Yeah, he's done well. So All right. Well, Dave, you've got something special for us as we think about the playoffs. Are you
I don't know how special it is.
special is not the
But
right word?
so I was thinking, it's Christmas time,
Yeah.
and there's a certain Christmas song that fits really well with a 12-team league.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I have, and whip this up,
Yeah.
is the 12 days of playoffs.
12 days of
So,
playoffs. I'm
so
ready. I'm
let's
going to get to hear this with everybody for the first time. This is
this is
brand new for
the
me.
first and only, maybe,
Okay. Do it.
All right. On the first day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Kevin's sucky team. On the second day of playoffs, Santa gave to me beating off all weekend and Kevin's sucky team. On the third day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Hillbilly Ed beating off all weekend and Kevin's sucky team. On the fourth day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. On the fifth day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. On the sixth day of playoffs, Santa gave to me the second best podcast host, Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. On the seventh day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Danny made the playoffs, the second best podcast host, Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. I like saying that. Can you tell?
Yeah.
On the eighth day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Vote for Flex. Danny made the playoffs, the second best podcast host, Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. On the ninth day of playoffs, Santa gave to me a Rolex-shaped tan line. Vote for Flex. Danny made the playoffs, the second best podcast host, Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. This is a long song. On the 10th day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Didn't Come to the Draft, a Rolex-shaped tan line, Vote for Flex. Danny made the playoffs, second best podcast host, Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. On the 11th day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Show Him Your TDs. Didn't come to the draft, a Rolex-shaped tan line, Vote for Flex. Danny made the playoffs, second best podcast host, Brennan's fake girlfriend, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. All right, last one. On the 12th day of Christmas, or 12th day of playoffs, Santa gave to me Adam's charts and graphs. Show him your TDs. Didn't come to the draft. Rolex-shaped tan line. Vote for Flex. Danny made the playoffs. The second best podcast host. Brennan's fake girlfriend. She's probably real, isn't she? Yeah, she probably is. Brennan, Bad Beat Brian, Hillbilly Ed, beating off all weekend, and Kevin's sucky team. Beautiful, right?
It's great. Yeah, I captured a little bit of that because I think I'm going to drop it into our chat. Maybe that'll spawn some more people to watch the podcast.
A snippet of it.
Well, yeah, a little snippet of that. So
I feel like it captured the season. each of.
I think that really you just wanted to say, well, here's a couple notices about the song. Number one, you wanted to, 12 times I had to hear how bad my team was. So I deserve that.
Yeah, you did.
And then there's certain team names that are so good that that's all you have to say.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a team name taking on a life of its own.
But there was even just more than just, yes,
Oh,
there's being off all weekend, but show me your TDs. Was there another one that you just used?
Vote for Flex.
Vote for, yeah.
Everybody knows who that is. I don't have to say his name.
So like there's some of them that's like the mythos of their name is just like, it kind of, you don't even have to say anything more. Like it is the line for the song. You don't need to add anything to it. Good job. I like it. So we wanted to recap last week just a little bit and kind of talk about how we got to where we are. So real quick rundown. Our playoff teams, if you weren't following along on the song, are Adam. Congratulations on winning the league. He's our number 1 seed. So we got Adam and Lee, and then we've got Josh and Rennie, and then we've got Travis and Danny and Dave and Brennan. And so our 4 on the outside. Ryan missed out because of points. He was 7-7 with Dave and Brennan, but he's on the outside looking in because he was about 34 points shy of Brennan. So man, that's 34 points sounds like a lot, but when you 14 weeks, you know what I mean. That's just a couple bad starts, right?
I'm pretty sure if Ed would have won, if he would have beat Rennie, he would have knocked Brennan out because he had more points.
Ed ended up with 14-21, and Brennan ended up with 13-36. So yes.
Yeah. So but Rennie, man,
So Brian and Ed on the outside. And here's the thing we said about Ed has a really good team.
Yeah.
And if he could have paid attention to it for 14 straight weeks, I believe he's in the playoffs. Don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there were one more win. Surely one of those weeks that he messed around with, didn't start somebody or pick, whatever.
COVID or late COVID, scratch it, like just paying attention. And I know, like we talked about it one day where it was like there was a Thursday start and it, 1:00 was when the guy ended up, finding out he wasn't going to play or whatever. But it's like,
there were other weeks that weren't like that.
Yeah.
Early on.
So,
I think there was even one that if he would have just put the guy in that made to replace him, and he had it on his bench.
Yeah.
Didn't do it. Like for 3 days, he could have done it.
And I kind of like it that we don't have it. My son's in a league, and I don't know who they use, like maybe NFL Network or something like that. And they have an optimizer button, and so like you can kind of like click that, and it can always change it'll like always set your lineup for you.
And then you can override it, I guess, or something.
Yeah, you can override it, but
if you have an injury and you have a player that's
at the start of each week, it optimizes it. Like, I don't know how exactly it works, if you got to go in there and press optimize or if you just have it turned on. But I was like, for somebody like Ed, that'd probably be helpful.
Yeah. But, he pays $60. He can do whatever he wants.
He can, yeah. So and then Junior and I rounding out the end. No chance that we were going to make the playoffs. So
yours was decided well before Junior's. Junior still had a chance there, several weeks ago if he would have put a string together, but he didn't.
Yeah, but he still ended up 3 to 4 losses away from or wins away. He needed 3 or 4 more wins.
That's true. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah. Well, I just mean he only ended up with 1,250 points, and he would have needed to get to 8 wins, based on that.
That's true.
So that's 4 more wins. So that's tough. And I had no shot from the very beginning. Like it just I meant to post. So if Brian posted missed out on the playoffs because of week 1, I wanted to post and say missed out on the playoffs because of the St. Leon Tavern draft. So that was when things went downhill for me. So
that's where it all started, huh? So if you could just go back and do that over, things.
If I could, things would be different. Yeah, but yeah. So Yeah, there's always next year.
That's true.
So,
So let's just look at a couple of last week's games, just because that's how we got here.
Yep.
Obviously the biggest win was, and I don't know, I'm sure Adam was watching. I suppose Lee or Travis was probably watching the game and
But
keeping
he
track.
was quiet. I threw some bones out there thinking he might because there was like a Cooper Cup touchdown and I was like, man, that stings, but I couldn't get at him to bite on anything. He wasn't
Even in I know, and I don't know how close I looked at it, but in my write-up, I was like, yeah, he's got a big lead. I thought I didn't, it would take a big performance from Stafford and one from Connor to match Cup, because Cup has been doing so good. I'm like, yeah, he's probably safe. But then as the game progressed, and plus I thought that Arizona was going to activate Edmonds, and so I thought Connor was going to split some carries, and that didn't happen, obviously. So it just kept inching towards, and then it was like, so every drive, if a pass went to, from Stafford to Cup, then Travis took the lead. Right. And then if it didn't go to Cup, then Adam would take the lead. And then when Arizona had the ball, Adam would rise up a little bit and either catch up or go ahead. Yeah. And I really thought that last drive, Arizona had the ball, Travis had the lead, and it didn't seem like the play selection would have called for throwing a little pass to a running back in the middle with no time. Like it made no sense. Like he should have threw. It's not where he should have gone with the ball, because then that was the second to last play. Yeah. Because they didn't have a timeout. So he just had to run around, and he got, it ended up being the worst decision in that moment on the second to last play to throw it to Connor and get that 9-yard pass, but it helped Adam. But it was a bad football play,
And we were talking off air, so Adam, in that moment, Adam definitely benefited on the Monday night of having a guy on both teams, right? So every time somebody had the ball, he had opportunity to score points. Now, a lot of those points that he was getting when LA had the ball were going to Cup, right? And so that was being kind of anti-productive for him. And I was watching the game and I thought, man, how crazy would it be if they do one of those wide receiver handoffs or something here and he, breaks off for 20 yards, because that's going to break Adam's heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was so close. It was so tight.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't even think that Connor was on the field that last drive. And if he was, I didn't think but he was their best receiver the whole game. He had most yards and most catches, so I guess it makes sense. But throwing it in the middle of the field there
to 101.6,
isn't that just?
And it, the loss didn't really do anything to Travis. It just changed his seating maybe a little bit, or whatever. But Adam's the one that needed it. It hurts Lee, but then for Lee to only score 68 points, Adam won it. I feel like he deserved, but he really had to fight back, because there was a point in time during the season where you thought, Rennie's going to run away with this, and then you thought maybe Lee was going to run away with it, and Josh and Travis had a chance there for a little bit, but Adam finds a way.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the teams that ended up top four, that none of us bottom four, we don't want to play any of those four. And so there's no gimme. I guess anytime you get to the playoffs, but there's other years where you're like, you're in your head, you're like, I kind of hope I get this spot, because that guy's team's really struggling. But all four of the top four that you would have to play if you're in the bottom four, I don't want to play any of them.
So you were fighting for your playoff life, and while you ended up with a 21-point victory, it wasn't that big of a gap, the whole time, and you were probably definitely sweating a little bit.
Yeah, it was like he just kept getting points from Renfro and Lockett, and then he kept coming back, and like for some reason all season Josh Allen doesn't realize that you're allowed to play football the first 3 quarters of the game, and he doesn't get any points, and so then he ended up scoring 40.
This game was won and lost by, when it's all said and done, Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Junior loses his quarterback real early. Your quarterback comes back and has a great second half against Tampa Bay. And so, that was the difference.
Well, yeah, because you got to think that even if he plays the whole game, he gets at least 20.
Oh yeah.
He falls
Yeah.
forward for that.
Yeah.
So it would have been really close.
Yep.
Didn't happen because he's junior.
No. He found a way to lose it, and then I did everything in my power to help Brian out. I beat Brennan. I thought I was gonna get Brennan knocked out of the playoffs, which would have been a pretty big fall for Brennan.
Oh yeah.
Meaning that there was a time in the season where he was like second or third in the league.
Yeah, when Dak and Zeke were like scoring out, consistently. There was, if that would have kept going the whole season, it's like nobody would have wanted to play him.
Yeah.
But look at you with your 108.
Yay. Sometimes it comes together. I've got decent now that where we're at in the season, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's players that people, obviously Jefferson's been a star the whole season. So anybody would want him on their team.
Yeah.
Godwin's been good. And then,
you
Clyde,
didn't have those two running backs doing well. I mean, you didn't have Williams, and he wasn't even the starter, but you had Hilaire the whole season. But
he was hurt for quite a while. Him and Barkley were hurt for about the same amount of time. I think they missed about 6 weeks, and so Williams wasn't doing quite this well then. And I think I had Booker, in place of in place of Barkley, and he did okay, but
you pretty much you did as bad as me on drafting running backs, but I was able to pick up a couple guys as replacements and get some points out of them when you weren't early, like in the middle of the season.
If the season started today, my running backs would be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just there was a stretch there where they, where they really struggled and weren't playing. So, Then
Rennie beats Ed. Ed scores over 100. Like, that's kind of my benchmark. If I score over 100 and lose, I'm generally okay with it. If I score under 100, I'm always like, I'm leaving myself vulnerable. 102 is not, it's over 100. But man, Rennie, Rodgers with his broken toe. Kamara coming back was huge for him because he'd been really struggling without Kamara. He comes back.
I mean, Ed didn't have anybody on his bench, but if he doesn't start Pittsburgh's D and if he doesn't start Johnson, he starts somebody else, then that's a different football game. That's a different fantasy game. But if Ed found a way to scratch into the playoffs just as hot as Brady and Fournette has been, that would have been interesting to see what happens because he's put up some big numbers. He's also just had some big duds. So, but Rennie stepped up when he needed to. He needed a win there. So
20. Man, I really don't think I don't remember getting 20 from a defense all season. That's such a bonus when you get 15 to 20 from a defense.
Yep. So that takes us to our actual playoffs for this coming week. So. We'll start with the top. We got Adam versus Brennan, and obviously lineups and all that kind of stuff are not fully set. But, for Brennan to have any chance against Adam, Dak and Zeke got to get back to early season form, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's got to go with Dak over Matt Ryan for sure. And I mean, I would assume, unless we hear something. But yeah, like pretty much Gibson, Zeke, Dak. That's going to decide if Brennan has a chance here.
Yeah. We know what Stafford's going to do. That Seattle versus LA game could be like 45-50 at the end. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
And the only thing with Adam, of all weeks, he's got, which it'll probably all work out, but he could have some issues. There's a bunch of Cleveland people with COVID, including Baker. And so if they end up having a bunch of people missing and
that could hurt Chubb.
Say if it's a lineman or an offensive line that is supposed to block for Chubb. And then again, like I said, what I thought was going to happen last week, I thought Edmund was coming back. I don't know if Connor had such a big game. He may not even steal any meaningful touches from him, but that is always a possibility.
Well, and we honestly don't, something crazy could happen and they could end up canceling that Cleveland game or postponing it, or I mean, it's like you just never know.
Yeah.
Like I've been reading more and more that like it seems like that there's a little something brewing just with COVID around the league. So we got
tough draw for Brennan for sure. I mean,
but when you're the 8th seed.
But I still think that all 4 of the top 4 are, tough draws.
Yep. Then we've got Travis versus Rennie. This is probably the closest one because Rennie's had, we'll just see what happens here. But, Rennie's is capable of anybody of scoring big.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty close all season. They have the same record and, negligible point difference if you spread it out over, 14 weeks. So it's all just kind of depends on,
yeah.
They both have.
Rennie couldn't be happy about losing Hopkins.
Yeah. Yeah. They made that announcement today, didn't they? He's not playing. So.
Yeah.
At least it's not one of those situations where he has to figure out whether he's going to play or not. He can make his plans tonight and try to get somebody.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see how that whole thing goes. I think that'll be a close one. We'll see what happens. Josh versus Danny. Mahomes. Mahomes got to be Mahomes. But if I'm Josh, I don't like the idea of playing anybody that's got Mahomes on their team.
I know. I mean, and plus Danny does have good running backs. He just has sketchy wide receivers. But But if they do anything, if somebody surprises you, and the running backs, he picks the right. If Mitchell, I don't know if Mitchell's going to be healthy, but he's got Harris that's been doing good. But I mean, Mahomes could a 40 spot goes a long way. I found out that this week.
Now. Josh has Justin Herbert, so he's just as capable of putting up a 40 spot. But you know that there's just like those big Mahomes games that kind of come out of nowhere. So
yeah, I mean, on paper, you would say, well, Danny's team is, there's a 300 point difference there between those two. So consistency obviously is in Josh's favor, but all it takes is 1 week for Danny to blow up.
Yep. And now, how do you like your chances going up against big old Lee? Show me your TDs.
If you would
sweatshirt, what do you got going on there?
I'm wearing this Colts sweatshirt because Jonathan Taylor is my favorite running back of all time. He's great. I love him. So I'm hoping he does really well this week. So.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing there. You're trying to pull a Smitty on him.
Yeah, getting in his head.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean. Obviously, they were on bye last week.
How does Lee end up with the number 1 and number 2 running backs on his team?
What a draft. What a freaking draft of both. I mean, it's hard enough to pick a top 5 running back, and nail it. And he we all us idiots picked a bunch of big name, bigger name people, and it gets to him and he picks Taylor, and then somehow Eckler's still available in the middle of the next round or whatever. And he looks like a genius. I mean, he's had weeks where quarterback play was, he's kind of bounced around between Carr and Wentz, but heck, you don't need them to do that much if you got Taylor, blowing up. So Taylor and Eckler. So yeah, my only, I assume that his running backs are going to be great. So my wide receivers have to keep pace with his running back, and then Allen needs to make up some of that points as well for me to
Are you starting a new? How long have you been starting Penny from Seattle at running back?
I just picked him up last week and didn't play him.
Okay. So this will be a first start.
My dilemma is I was like you. I had picked guys that got hurt all year, so I've been scrambling at running back all season. So I picked people up that I think might, if given the opportunity, they would blow up. But I had already committed to going with Michelle because I knew Henderson was out. And Penny was like going to be activated, but they had other guys that might have got touches. But he had 2 big runs.
Is it too late for a trade? What about like Jefferson and Williams for like Matt Prater? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can still make that trade.
Okay,
that would go through. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm even going to do at running back because I don't know between if Henderson, I think Henderson will be back, but I don't know if I'm going to start. I mean, I got people in the lineup right now, but who knows what's going to happen by. But we have Saturday games this week, so it doesn't matter, Ed. But
Yeah.
although we've changed it, so you still can win $10, even you.
Yeah.
Anybody could. So there's a reason to fill out the lineup just for fun, but Saturday games. So a Thursday game, couple Saturday games, Sunday games, Monday game, football
all weekend,
all over the place. So
yeah,
pay attention.
I think it was a year ago that I had forgot that there was a Saturday game, and not that I had somebody, I just wasn't watching it. And Rennie was like, so then Rennie would text me every time that there was like a game, or he would put it in the thing, Kevin, there's a game tonight.
But it does make it difficult, like, having, because you have to decide whether, and that's kind of what hurt, I think, Travis this week, because Cook was iffy and he played on Thursday. And so Travis had to decide whether to start him or not, knowing that he had a couple decent running backs on the bench. And so he didn't start him. He blows up, and then his other guy ends up not even playing. So then he picks up a nobody and doesn't get any points. So that's the tough thing about Thursdays. And it's like you don't have all the information that you want to have, to go. And that was, this is part of it, though. You make those decisions and you live with them.
Congratulations to all the playoff teams that if you've made it this far, that means you're probably paying enough attention to set your lineup and to do all the things, but it'll be fun. We'll have, our podcasts are going to get shorter because we'll have less to talk about each week.
It may be, we'll have to,
maybe
more
so
bits.
He says he's available, so I'm going to try to book him for next week. We'll see what we can do.
Who is?
Rennie says he's available.
Okay. Oh, so we got to do some research, right?
We got to do some research. We got some stuff we got to prepare for when Rennie comes on. But we want to talk about the perfect season, and this is a great segue because Adam had talked about like the history part of the app is now up and functioning. You used to always be able to pull it up if you used your computer. Like there was an area where you could go and pull up past seasons and stuff like that, but now they've made it accessible on the app, so you can go and look at stuff. So
somebody brought up how
Brennan didn't like that you didn't like create brand new teams, that like he just like, inherited somebody else's team.
I didn't realize it would do that. For one, I think what happened was one of the times it was because either it had already started and we had to a draft had already happened or something, so I had to like do a second owner and then drop the first owner. But I don't remember why we didn't.
Yeah. And the history that's on the thing doesn't go back as full as like the Harrison Hillbilly history goes. We've got Adam, our historian, has more information than what's
Yahoo years, the Fox year, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But it is neat to be able to go back and look. So,
I didn't ever think about them combining stuff like that. But it might have been too that for a while I was keeping the schedule based on like that, like a certain.
It was just easier to type in a new.
So I won't do that again though. If somebody drops off, we'll just cut them and then add a new person. But
Yep. So, we in our winter owners meetings, we'll have to figure out like what happened. So if there could be like a punishment, like if you don't check your line, if you don't set your lineup like so many times, you get like strikes, and then it's like then your team's relegated. Like I've been watching Ted Lasso, so like they could face relegation.
Yeah. So I mean, and there's some things that could be put on the table for possible changes and such. One of them I think would be I think we mentioned like because it's so hard to win the regular season, it's hard to even get top one or two, because like this would be because I mean Lee came inches and he there is no second place prize, which sucks. It's like of all years that would be that would have been a nice consolation prize to at least get $15 or something. But
So you haven't done any kind of like money breakdown or anything yet, right? Like how teams are doing, but
No, I mean it's all there. You could do your own math. I haven't put any totals.
So
I mean,
Josh won High Points twice.
But I think so. You didn't ever win, right?
No, but Lee won 2.5 times. Is that the most?
Rennie's only 2. Yeah, maybe. No, we got 3 weeks left. That could change everything.
Yeah. So, but I just mean getting yourself up into the second place, and he had the most. He had a lot of points. So,
yeah. Even Brian got week 10. So you and Travis still the only 2 that haven't. I don't see Travis's name. Yeah, I think just you and Travis. That's a pretty good parity.
Yeah, and for Travis to be so highly ranked, but not to get up, that's a lot of consistency, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be a playoff team, one of the top 4, and not have ever got a high point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got 3 weeks left. You could change that.
So I just meant that while he did not win the league, Lee's already up $35 from High Points in playoffs. So
yeah,
he's over halfway back to making his money back, and all he's got to do is get a win this week, and he gets to get $20 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a win away from almost breaking even. That's pretty good work for Lee. So
yeah, I'm not.
No,
especially since I did the stupid side bet twice.
Yeah. Well, so I keep costing people more and more money. So, but all right. Well, thanks for jumping on. Thanks everybody for watching, and good luck in the playoffs.
We'll see ya.
Kevin Sucky team. Oh, sorry. It's just so catchy.
It is catchy.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a good one. And Dave, I'll see you later. Merry Christmas.